Greetings, everyone. I'm Mar. Once again, this is my opinion. The streak continues. Now we come to Taker's match from Wrestlemania 19, where he took on the Big Show in A-Train in a handicap match. Now, this was the first entry in the streak that occurred after I became a wrestling fan, because I started watching a few months after his match with Flair. So going into it, even though I didn't watch the pay-per-view properly, I was looking forward to it because by this point Taker was one of my favorite wrestlers. He was still a heel when I started watching, and then he started to do that slow transition from heel to babyface, which you can argue started with his ladder match against Jeff Hardy, where he won, took it out a little bit on Jeff because of Jeff's resiliency. He did a little head pat, raised his arm, walked out, and then by the time he got to SmackDown, he was a full-blown babyface. Taking place in Seiko Field in Seattle in front of 54,000 screaming wrestling fans, this match had its origins in the aforementioned face turn. Following Lesnar and Taker's two matches, the second of which is a great Hell in a Cell match, and that occurred on one of the first pay-per-views I ever watched, and it's still one of my favorite matches, even though I don't watch it as much as I used to, but I can still go back and enjoy it. Taker, basking in it. Then all of a sudden, Big Show, who had just been traded from Raw to SmackDown, comes out, beats the crap out of Taker, and ends up by picking him up and throwing him over the side of the ramp. Taker's out for a couple months. He comes back at the Royal Rumble. Him and Brock have a few interactions along with Kane, but he's going after Big Show. And it's one of those things where Big Show being the heel, he's like, I don't want anything to do with Undertaker. I don't want anything to do with Undertaker. Trying to apologize. Has one of my favorite segments where they send Brother Love in a box, because in the words of Jim Cornette, you come in a box, you're over. It's kind of true. The fans did react a lot to it, and the thing I love about that segment is the look on Taker's face once he opens the box and sees who's in it. He's like, really? When the camera cuts, the music plays in. And of course, Brother Love, Brother Dead Man. One of my favorite little Bruce Pritchard ones. And of course, following up by having Canyon do Boy George. That one I remember seeing live. The Brother Love one I actually had to go back and watch. But it's all with Big Show trying to avoid the wrath. And of course, during this feud is where we also got Brian Kendrick as a singing telegram artist, which had one of my favorite little moments as well, where Taker tipped him, then chokeslammed him when he asked for a redo and took his tip back. Now that's something that The Undertaker would do. The tip will rest in peace. Taker and Big Show did have a one-on-one match at No Way Out, which I actually had forgotten about until I actually watched the match proper and they mentioned it on commentary. It's like, well, they're good. Mentioning some aspects of the story that might get overlooked in commentary. Good on you, Michael Cole and Taz. In between then and the pay-per-view proper, Big Show joined forces with A-Train, and Undertaker recruited the then new Giant of Bataro, Nathan Jones, who was supposed to be his partner for this match, but he was taken out at the last minute. The storyline reason, of course, is that A-Train and Big Show attacked him backstage, kind of tit for tat, because he did that on an episode of SmackDown before his first match, which I always scratch my head at, like, why? Then part of me, like, maybe they want to save him for the actual pay-per-view. But the actual behind-the-scenes reasoning appears to be that Nathan Jones was so green that they didn't want to risk it. Which begs the question, how bad must he have been in the ring, just from selling and how everything looked, that they decided to take him off the WrestleMania card other than a quick cameo where he does a couple moves and that's it? Just think about it. This is the same company that had Zeus in main events with the Macho Man in the Hulkster. And being a tag match, theoretically, they could have worked around Nathan Jones being green, but I guess they figured, I better not risk it, just throw him out there, do a couple moves. Plus, it adds to the drama of the match, because Taker is a big guy, but now he has to face two people who are around the same size. I mean, Big Show dwarfs him by a little bit, especially here, where he's got a little bit more girth to him. And, of course, A-Train in there. This is the type of match that I can imagine Vince in the back going, my god damn, look at the size of these men. Look at all that hamburger out in the ring. Anyway, the match got underway, and just from an in-ring aspect, it's not the prettiest of Undertaker's streak matches. It's not a classic, but watching it, I'm like, it's not the worst of his matches. It's one of those matches that's just there. And I think part of it is that this feels like it could have been a match on any Raw or SmackDown, like a main event on that or a minor pay-per-view. It doesn't really feel like a WrestleMania match. And if there's any knock against it, it's that doesn't have that same spark from an in-ring aspect. I mean, you got some good psychology in there. I mean, Taker does have moments of the match where he's in control. I mean, there's one part in the match where he has Big Show in one corner, A-Train in the other, going back and forth. Other parts where he takes control. But then the numbers game gets him, and they take over. They're doing stuff to him. Taker does go old school eventually, and he does get the win with the Tombstone Pile Driver on A-Train, which some people might scratch their head like, okay, he gets the win, but he doesn't pin Big Show? That's, if anything, that's in the nitpick territory. It's honestly like he won the match. He does try to chokeslam Big Show at one point, which the commentators really play up like, is he going to do it? No way. Which, given this is when Big Show is a little heftier, you can kind of see why they'd be doing the disbelief thing. This is the time where they really were playing up anyone being able to lift Big Show. It's a big feat of strength. Which, of course, the two moments that come to mind that they really played it up is Lesnar's first F5 of him, along with the suplexes. And, of course, John Cena FUing him for the first time. I mean, people have always built it up when you put Big Show on your shoulders, but this is around one of the times where they really would hype it up. And as I mentioned, Nathan Jones does have a run-in near the end of the match, which it's one of those things of, like, they announce that this is a handicap match, and yet the referee does not call for the bell the moment Nathan Jones attacks. Now, the first one where he attacks Big Show, you can kind of go like, all right, he's in the walkway. Maybe the referee's distracted by Taker and A-Train in the ring. But then when Jones comes into the ring and does his little kick to A-Train, the referee doesn't call for the bell. You're looking there like, huh? Maybe because he was originally supposed to be a partner of the referees, being a little liberal with his enforcement of the rules. But then again, this is pro wrestling, as Bruce Pritchard, topical that I brought him up before, has said before at times, it's like you're trying to apply logic to an illogical situation. Which is weird because I always like to try to apply at least a little bit of logic when necessary. And here, if you have rules, you always seem loosey-goosey with enforcing them, but then again, that seems to be Vince's thing. We're only going to have the rules when we need to, pal. I mean, just look at the whole 30-day or strip to your title defense rule that a lot of the titles have. They only enforce that when necessary. Well, pal, Edge is injured. We're going to have to strip him of the Intercontinental title, then we'll do a tournament. Other times, oh, Lesnar's out. Going to be out for 2 months with this? Oh, no biggie. Other than my nostalgia for this era of wrestling, the best part of the match really is before the match, and that's Limp Bizkit doing their live rendition of Rolling, which was one of Taker's old themes as the American Badass. And since they did one of the themes, Crack Addict, for the pay-per-view, it's fitting, like we already have them there. Let's have them do Undertaker's theme and have them come down to the ring. And then Taker comes out with the bike, American flag on the back, because this was during the height of the Iraq War, which they do mention on commentary that Undertaker's nephew was fighting in the war, so he dedicated his match to his nephew. Nice little thing from Big Evil, the American Badass, to do. You know, he gets into the ring, does a little thing where looks like he's gonna chokeslam the singer Limp Bizkit, but doesn't. And then from there we got the match. Maybe it's because I don't remember everything that happened storyline-wise in 03, but I don't remember what happened in the immediate aftermath of this feud. Taker won, and it seemed like Big Show transitioned back into his feud with Brock Lesnar, because I remember them having that stretcher match, and then that was the first time I'd ever heard of a stretcher match, and them building it up like that one stretcher match that Andre the Giant had in the 80s that supposedly resulted in his broken ankle. And then Taker later getting in his feud with Lesnar when Lesnar turned heel again, which of course led to his little match with Vince after Vince interfered, which of course led to him being buried alive, which of course is topical because that leads into the next match in the streak. Like I said earlier, this is just one of those matches that's there. It's not one of the worst matches in the streak, but it's not one of the best matches in the streak either. It has some good spots, but all in all, it's a forgettable entry in the streak. But then that begs the question, what's worse? To be a bad match at WrestleMania or to be a forgettable match at WrestleMania? Personally, I'd rather have a forgettable match than have a bad match because then you're infamous. I mean, think about it. Undertaker, without the whole streak, I don't think he'll ever live down the Giant Gonzalez match. That's my thought on that match if you haven't seen that video. And of course, now we go to the first entry in the streak that I actually watched when it happened. And that is his second match against Kane from WrestleMania 20 in Madison Square Garden, where it all begins